So should I start or? I guess no response, so
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. Can you see my slides? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. Hi, thank you for coming to our panel. My name is Takuma Kamada from Osaka University in Japan. Today, I will be talking about empirical examination of the effects of deporting criminal leaders from Philippines to Japan, and I'm going to consider the crime consequences of these deportations. So here's the brief background of the stories and research question in general. So there was a spike in robbery incidents in Japan between May 2022 and January of 2023. And then this series of robbery incidents were linked to a specific fraud organization. What happened to this fraud organization is that four top-ranking members of this fraud organization were in jail in the Philippines for different types of offenses that they were facing in the Philippines. But they were able to bribe the police officers and then immigration custom officers and so on, that they were able to use smartphones and Telegram, which is an app that it's difficult to trace the messages, and use those techniques to direct low-ranking members in Japan to commit the dirty work. And then these guys actually generated more than $40 million in financial damage. So this is not a small scales of crime. This is actually quite a lot of incidents that generate a lot of generate a lot of financial damage. And during this period of time, a large number of low-ranking members were apprehended in Japan. And in February of 2023, 4 leaders of this criminal organization were deported back to Japan from Philippines. So the question is, what's the crime consequences of these deportations of criminal leaders across countries in Japan, in crime rates in Japan, sorry. So to give you a brief background, I mentioned this is committed by a specific fraud organization, but it's kind of important to keep in mind 2 types of criminal groups. One is the Yakuza, which is traditional Japanese mafia type of crime that are designated by the Japanese government. And another types of criminal groups is more of a immersion recent type of criminal group, which is often called hangure, but I'm going to call this non-Yakuza criminal groups. One important distinction is that, like I said earlier, Yakuzas are designated by the Japanese government. So there are actually legal criminal syndicates, essentially. And because they're designated, police have easy time tracking down on them, right? We know where the headquarter offices is, we know who member is for particular criminal Yakuza groups and so on. For non-Yakuza criminal groups, that's not the case. So the police actually have a very difficult time tracking down on them. Okay, but one important implication for this study, though, is that both Yakuza members and then non-Yakuza criminal groups often collaborate to one another. And actually, the apprehended 4 leaders from the one that deported back to Japan from Philippines were reported to have Yakuza ties. So there are sort of complementary roles between Yakuzas and non-Yakuza criminals. And then this is actually a very important implication for the empirical exercise, because I'm going to argue this effects of deportation should be more responsive in area with high Yakuza activities relative to area with low Yakuza activities, given that those non-Yakuza criminal groups are oftentimes have ties with Yakuza. So the question is it going to be a deterrence effect or displacement effects? And then in terms of deterrence effects, there is 2 channels. One is the incapacitation channel, which means that by apprehending the 4 leaders the abilities for them to direct low-ranking members to commit the dirty work will be completely eliminated, which can lead to a decrease in crime, right? Because of this fraud organization is just apprehended, that they can't really physically commit crime much. But it can go above and beyond that, right? And then it can go more of a sort of general deterrence in the sense that, well, this deportation, provide a sort of strong signal of the authorities' seriousness, which in turn leads to criminals to have a perceived higher cost of crime, right? So that crime rates may decrease the months following this deportation. By contrast, there might be sort of like displacement effects, right? While the cost of committing robberies may increase, but there could be some sort of like a substitution in a sense that there might be a surge in other types of income generating crime as a substitution. So this is kind of like an empirical question, which affects dominance or not. So like I said, this is going to be an empirical examination. So the data, I use a monthly crime statistics from May 2022 to June of 2023. This is going to be a reported number of criminal incidents, not the arrest rates or clearance rates or anything like that. This is going to be a reported crime, a reported number of crime, and I'm going to focus on total crime, robbery, and then theft. Because total crime, I want to just show you the overall general patterns, but robberies and theft, because these are the type of crime that those organizations often heavily focus on. There is a caveat that I do not have a data on a scam, which has been doing a lot of bad to the society. I do not have a monthly data on this at this point, so I can't really speak to that crime type, but the robberies and theft is going to be the main outcome that I'm going to look for. The research design, this is going to be a difference, so-called the difference in difference design, which is a pretty common tool for policy evaluations and causal inference. But basically idea here is going to be a comparing crime trends, which is the outcome, in area with high Yakuza's activities relative to area with low Yakuza's activities, months following and then months leading to, and then months following the deportation of those 4 criminal leaders. So this is regional variations in Yakuza organization concentration index, which I'm not going to go in details about that for now, for the sake of simplicity in a presentation. But the darker color indicates more higher concentration, meaning higher activities of Yakuza, and the lighter color indicates less Yakuza's activities. And what you notice here is the northern part of Japan and southern part of Japan is actually pretty dark. So this is the estimates of the effects of deportations on total number of crime per 10,000 residents, comparing in area with high Yakuza's activities relative to areas with low Yakuza's activities, 9 months leading to the deportation, as well as 5 months following the deportation. And then what you notice here is both before and after, there is no differential crime trends in those areas across those 2 areas. So it kind of allows me to conclude that there is no substantial changes in the crime rates, total number of crime rates. However, when it comes to robbery, what you notice here is months prior to the deportation, there is sort of like a surge in robberies. But once the 4 criminals were deported back to Japan, there is no changes. There is no differential trends in the robberies between area with high Yakuza's activities relative to areas with lower Yakuza's activities. Finally, I'm going to look for theft, which is the important income generating source of crime for this type of organizations. And then what you notice here is months leading to the deportation of criminals, there is no differential trends in theft across regions with varying degrees of Yakuza's activities. But months that 4 criminals were deported back to Japan, there is a surge in number of theft. And that effect kind of decayed over months. So remark here is that there is no differential change in total number of crime across area with varying degrees of Yakuza organization concentrations in the months following, as well as months leading to the deportation of criminal leaders from Philippines to Japan. But for robbery, there was a robbery incident tends to be higher in an area with Yakuza's activities relative to area with lower Yakuza's activities before the deportation. But there is no differential change after the deportation. So this kind of indicates that police decided to deport those leaders due to high enhanced robberies, and then the robbery trends kind of stole afterwards. So there was a sort of deterrent effect on that robbery. However, there seems like switching effects in a sense that criminals probably switch from robberies to commit theft because of the finding that indicates that in the month of the deportation, the theft increased in area with higher Yakuza's activities relative to area with lower Yakuza's activities, and in which cannot be explained by differential trends in the outcome before the deportation. So criminal likely switched from robberies to theft, but only temporarily. So that's all I have, and then thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Takuma. That was really interesting, and just an aspect of the crime and the linkages that we don't usually consider there with, I suppose, with the deportation and then not simply removing the problem, but different types of crime and the impact. So I'm sure we'll have a few questions for that, but thank you kindly. Let me also just do a little belated introduction. So I think there were some technical issues at the start. Thank you, Takuma, for just jumping in there with that. I'll just give a bit of broad context. So my name is Martin Thorley. I'm a senior analyst for Global Initiative Against Transnational Organised Crime. I'm delighted to be moderating the panel on cooperation between Asian nations in the fight against crime. So we're focusing on broadly around East Asia. We have the three excellent panelists, one of whom you've already heard from Japan. We're also going to go to South Korea and then to China. Our panelists are going to provide views not only on the different geographies, but also different spheres. So Takuma mentioned there of his research, and his background is in academia, but we also have here NGOs and practitioners. Just to say again, thank you to Takuma, and just for those who didn't catch this and for the recording after, Takuma is an associate professor at the Osaka School of International Public Policy, the OSIPP, at Osaka University in Japan. His research covers a broad range of crime-related topics, but particular themes on cause and consequences of crime enforcement, as I think was evident in the research there. After this talk, and after I just give a brief belated introduction, you're going to hear from Ji-Sun Choi, who is a research fellow at the Korean Institute of Criminology and Justice, the KICJ. Ji-Sun's expertise centres on criminal justice, and her output with the KICJ covers a wide range of topics, from regional factors associated with crime in South Korea to international cooperation and research for crime prevention. Next, after that, you will hear from Ling Xu, who is the director of the China Programme for Traffic, a world-leading NGO on research into trade in wild species. Traffic is a member of the Cambridge Conservation Initiative, and Ling's research and comment are a mainstay of media coverage of wildlife trafficking in Asia. So each panelist will speak for around 10 minutes, and Takuma's just hit that perfectly, so thank you there. And if everyone can roughly keep to time, that would make my life a lot easier. We will then have space for questions. You are welcome to ask questions, but I ask that you post them in the Q&A function if possible. We're going to go from east to west, so that's why you've heard from Japan. That's why next you're going to hear from Ji-Sun in Korea, and then we will go to Ling in China. With that, let me go over to you, Ji-Sun, and we'll move from Osaka over to Seoul. Thank you.
Okay, let me share my screen first. Can you see? Okay. Thank you for Martin, for your introduction, and Takuma your interesting presentation. I do have questions, but I will just do it later. Good morning from Seoul. My name is Ji-sun Choi, currently Acting Director of International Cooperation Center at Korean Institute of Criminology and Justice. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to introduce my institution's International Cooperation Center and its activities. Since the title of this session is Cooperation between Asian nations in the fight against crime, challenges and opportunities, I think I can talk about more opportunities. Let me start the presentation and we can discuss more later. So I will go over from the history of KICJ organization research area and network, and finally the international cooperation. So the KICJ is only National Research Institute in crime and criminal justice in the country. It was originally established as a Korean Institute of Criminology in 1989 by the Ministry of Justice. Currently, it's under the Office of the Prime Minister. Throughout the 1990s, we continuously worked with scholars, practitioners, and as well as Korean government, growing as a national institute. One of our major activities during this time was hosting the 12th International Congress of Criminology in 1998. Emerging in 2000, the institution began to expand further, becoming a part of international community. In 2004, we joined the United Nations Network of Institutes, or PNIs, under the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. PNIs are a network of research institutes around the world, and it was developed to ensure the cooperation in the area of crime prevention and criminal justice. In the years that followed, we worked with other PNI institutes and the UNODC, organizing workshops and UN conferences, and collaborating on joint research projects. Now, one of the most recent significant changes happened in 2021. The name of institute changed to Korean Institute of Criminology and Justice, expanding our research area, including legal affairs. So the KICJ has 3 research departments and 1 planning and administration department. 3 research departments are Department of Criminal Justice and Justice Policy and Research, Department of Legal Policy Research, and the Digital Center for Criminal Justice and Law. Each department includes specific research division. For example, Department of Criminal Justice Policy Research includes Criminal Policy Research Division and Crime Analysis and Survey Research Division, and Crime Prevention and Corrections Research Division. And my team here is International Cooperation Center, which is under Planning and Administration Department. These are the specific area as presented here. Our focuses are very various, from criminology and criminal justice to legal policies. We have more than 60 PhD researchers conducting those research. So our research network consists of 46 institutions from 19 countries. Since 2004, we've been under UNPNI, I just mentioned, which consists of 18 interregional and regional institutions around the world, plus UN Office of Drugs and Crime. So we as an International Cooperation Center at KICJ organized multiple events for crime and criminal justice experts in Korea, as well as from around the world, to share knowledge and academic and policy matters. Through the research effort, we aim to disseminate our research outcomes and strengthen our international network. So since 1989, we have been organizing seminars, forums, and other academic events with experts from various fields. one of which is Korean Crime Victim Survey Academic Conference. It utilized the statistical data from the Korean Crime Victim Survey, which is developed by KICJ, providing annual data on crime victims in the country. Next, the open forum we have specifically invites experts from other fields such as psychology, medicine, artificial intelligence, etc. So as guest lecturer, in order to encourage exchange across from different disciplines. So these are the photos from recent activities. So also finally, we have expert group meetings, or we call it EGM, provides a space for international exchanges between our own research at KICJ and experts and practitioners from other countries. We've organized AGMs with experts from Japan, Taiwan, UK, United States, and Thailand in recent years. And these are the EGM we had recently on the list here. University of Illinois State University, University College London, and IVR, and the World Congress on the philosophy of law and social philosophy, respectively. So these are also photos from these expert group meetings. So we also have the publications from the Korean and English publications. The International Corporate Center oversees 3 of them. The bottom 3 here, or right here, the trending policies in criminal justice and International Journal of Criminal Justice, and newsletter we are publishing. So the first one is TPCJ, the Trend and Policies in Criminal Justice, is a summarized research report from our research project. We select issues that are deemed important and timely and provide the English summary. And the International Journal of Criminal Justice, IJCJ, publishes research from academics to and practitioners in Korea and also abroad. And English newsletter is sent via email to our subscribers, and it has events and other updates from of the institutes. The TPCJ and the international journals are available online, so you can go and check. In terms of online channels, we have website and also YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter's. The name changes to X, right? So we have that too. So other international activity we do is cooperation in UN activities. So as part of the UN Criminal Prevention and Criminal Justice Program Network, the PNI, we participate in the UN Congress and annual CCPCJ sessions. The UN Crime Congress is held every 5 years, and it brings together the government, NGOs, and academics to share experiences in research, law, and policies, and identify the current trend in the field. The KICJ has organized multiple workshops, and sometimes in conjunction with the other PNI members. The Crime Congress adopts a declaration. It must pass through the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, CCPCJ, before being sent to UN General Assembly for endorsement. So CCPCJ is, sorry, I just skipped that. Yeah, CCPCJ is held every year, consists of 40 member states. So KICJ has made contributions in technical assistance and research activities, particularly on human trafficking, drug trafficking, money laundering, smuggling, and migrants, financial crime, and cybercrime. So as you can see, our recent workshop topics are here. So we are expecting next year's workshop too. So we also attend PNI annual meetings and convene the regional meetings with the UN PNI institutions. So these are the related photos presented. So finally, we have our international forums. So this one I would like to put as agenda for today's discussion. Personally, we have two international forums. One is international forum established in 2014, and it is our biggest international event. But the one I wanted to discuss is about APEC-CJ. It's a Asia Pacific Expert Conference for Criminal Justice. It takes place every 2 years, so it starts from 2020 during the COVID-19, and this is the next year will be the third year of this APEC-CJ. So I think it's a good opportunity to have a discussion on like a topic, and here we have Takuma and Lin. So we are really looking forward to have participants from other countries, especially from Japan and China. So I think it's a good opportunity to discuss this topic. So for the next year, I mentioned before, it's a very starting point, arranging topics and also participants right now. So so if you may have any suggestion or questions, I'm more than happy to answer and discuss about these topics. And also the International Forum, we are going to have like 10th anniversary this year. So the main topic is criminal justice and legal policy responses to combat transnational organized crime. We have 5 sessions, consist of illegal drugs, illegal human trafficking, illegal migrants, and also cybercrime, money laundering and recovery, and terrorism. So it's all 5 topics will be might be interesting to you. So you can you might be participate here too. I think that's about it. So these are the just photos of our previous conferences, because it's a US COVID-19, so we couldn't really have the participants being here. So we had in hybrid format before 2 events, but this year and next year we're gonna have like a on-site event. So we are very looking forward to it. So these are the also other international forum photos, and this is the last year's international forums photo and the previous years. Yes. So thank you for your attention. I'm looking forward to have more discussion in our discussion session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jisun. I've got I think some issues with the screening the slides that I've just messaged, but I've got all the information and appreciate it. And we'll maybe have some more questions related to that when we get the Q&A coming back. But thank you. I've got a good idea of your institution and where it fits in, and might have a few questions about from that perspective on the international collaboration on crime prevention there. But thank you for a very thorough introduction to the institution, to how you are looking at that, and to the type of events that you are hosting as well.
Yeah, I didn't hear you. I was not sharing. I'm sharing it on the chat, so you can just download it and look at it.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes.
I will come back to that then. Okay, can I pass over to Ling Xu?
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay. Yes, done. Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to this panel. Yeah, my name is Ling Xu, Director of Traffic China. I have been working in traffic for nearly 20 years, focusing on combating illegal wildlife trade and promoting the legal and sustainable trade. I'm happy to share some of my thoughts on the cooperation in Asia to combat the wildlife crime. As some of you know, value of illegal wildlife trade is estimated to be between 5 to 23 billion per year. It is regarded as a low risk and high profit business. It carries all elements of transnational organized crime, including coordinated cross national borders, involving groups or networks of individuals working in more than one country to plan and execute illegal business ventures. The increasing demand for wildlife products from the East Asia has fueled an illegal market for wildlife products, despite some or many regulations in place. And with the rapid development of internet, illegal trade has been shifting to online platforms such as Facebook and WeChat in China, which allow dealers to select who can view, and they can block those who don't buy or ask a lot of questions. It is hard to monitor the illegal trade in the social media platform. This is the trade chain at its simplest. Poaching takes place, and wildlife products are then transported to cargo load, warehouse, customs clearance area, and then smuggling to transit countries by passenger airline, mail, express, courier, etc., and then transported to any market for the use of medicine, luxury goods, or others. In practice, this is not always so simple. Many people may be involved along the way, especially where the consumer market lies far from the source. Now, wildlife crime has been a huge challenger to the security of the global supply chain, and combating wildlife smuggling is an important part of global governance. These smuggling activities often involve 2 or more countries or regions. This grouping, professionalization, and international characteristics of smuggling gangs determine that international and regional enforcement cooperation is crucial to combat wildlife smuggling. Now I would like to use ASB, Anti-Smuggling Bureau of China Customs, as an example to show how China cooperates with other countries to fight wildlife crime. Combating wildlife trafficking requires international and regional cooperation by countries or regions of source, transit, and destination in the principle of shared responsibility and joint efforts. ASB has strengthened the law enforcement cooperation with the customs and the police in these countries through intelligence sharing, joint investigation, and repatriation of criminals. China Customs has cut off the criminal chain of smuggling of endangered species, such as ivory and their products at home and abroad, by cracking down on criminal syndicates and destroying their networks through information sharing, joint analysis, and capacity building with the relevant organization. The approach 1, intelligence exchange, it is one priority of anti-smuggling. ASB conducts timely, dynamic, and operational intelligence exchanges with overseas customs, police, and wildlife authorities to jointly uncover major cases. For example, in 2019, ASB provided intelligence guidance to overseas customs, which resulted in the confiscation of nearly 12 tons of ivory, about 60 tons of pangolin scales, and more than 100 kilograms of rhino horn. ASB has cooperated and jointly handled the cases with multiple countries and regions through various channels, such as custom, police, and mutual assistance in criminal justice. For example, in 2020, when investigating the case of Lee's smuggling of ivory and other endangered species, ASB's branch, German Customs, they obtained the criminal record of the suspect in South Africa from the South African police through case assistance. Approach 3 initiate for participate in joint operations. SB adheres to multilateralism and actively initiate or participate in international joint law enforcement operations. Yeah, from 2017 to 2020, ASB participated in the Thunder series of international joint operations launched by Interpol to combat the smuggling of endangered species. During the 2019 Operation Thunder, ASB reported 73 seizure cases with confiscations of large amounts of endangered wild animal and timber. ASB hosted the summer meetings of Thunder in 2019, and the General Secretariat of CITES Secretary, she also attended this summary meeting. Another important option is Operation Mekong Dragon. Operation OMD was born from the recognized need for a joint regional operation against drugs and wildlife trafficking. It was initiated in 2018 by Vietnam and China Customs Administrations with support provided by the WCO, RILO AP, and UNODC. 23 Asian member administrations, RILO AP and UNODC now participated in the operation to enhance cooperative enforcement efforts among customs in Asia Pacific. Operation Mekong Dragon is the flagship program, which demonstrates that Asian regional cooperation is the key to achieve the successful seizures through illicit supply chain and ensure the regional security. Yeah, traffic has been one of the supporters to this operation since 2021. The photo is the briefing meeting of Operation Mekong Dragon this April in China, and the summary meeting will be held in Hanoi next month. Approach 4 is the cooperation in international fugitive pursuit. Through Interpol, bilateral police cooperation, and diplomatic and judicial mutual assistance channels, SB uses extradition, repatriation, and persuasion to carry out overseas pursuit of fugitives. In 2014, SB sent staff to Kenya to bring suspects engaged in wildlife smuggling back to China. This is the first time that China had arrested and brought to justice suspects in the smuggling of endangered species who had fled abroad. Later, the SB cooperated with the Interpol, Tanzania, and Nigeria as a law enforcement department to arrest 3 Chinese suspects in Africa and then brought back to China. The last approach is capacity building. SB of China Customs has offered training to other countries, particularly in Southeast Asia and Africa in the past 10 years. Traffic has been a long-term partner of SB and has been deeply involved in the wildlife law enforcement training from the program starts. Co-funded by WCO and Traffic, this July, over 40 anti-smuggling representatives from Asia and Africa gathered in Shanghai for training and networking on wild species trafficking detection and apprehension techniques. Above are 5 approaches to show how China customs cooperates with other countries to fight wildlife trafficking. In general, China's political will is much higher in both the central and local level, which has helped promote the international and regional collaboration on combat wildlife trafficking. Currently, the anti-smuggling team has been well equipped, and they extend law enforcement cooperation in sourcing and transit countries as well. Judicial systems and law enforcement mechanism is also good in China, and the very important is the SB is open to work with the NGOs like traffic, we international NGOs. However, we can still see the demand for illegal wildlife products is still very high, and the criminals are frequently changing their modus operandi to avoid detection. And the difference in the judicial system between China and other countries is a kind of a barrier to weaken the regional law enforcement collaboration. In addition, the approach of anti-money laundering hasn't sufficiently used in the investigation of wildlife trafficking. This has restricted in tracking the illegal profits obtained from illegal activities. About my sharing, thank you. Thanks for your listening. Thanks for GI-TOC's invitation.
Thank you very much, Ling. That was there's a lot of information there. I suspect, actually, from a purely selfish point of view, a lot of my colleagues, and indeed I, would be interested in some of the details there. I mean, there's a lot to go up with from all three, and what I'm going to say is this first. First of all, thank you for that talk. I actually have a direct question for you there, Ling. But first, I mean, I feel like you're working at the core of the sort of transnational issues there. I suppose it's in the name of the organisation you're representing. Anyway, I've got two things to pass on first. First is that whether you're watching live or recorded, we will put Ji-Sun's slides on the Hay Summit page. So if you want to follow some of those slides, there were some images and there was also some information that may not have been transmitted to all of you here about events, then it will all be available on that page that you've used to register with. Now, in terms of questions, the second thing, I have chair's privilege and I will ask one question. I have a few more that I would like to ask, but let's see. While I am asking my question to all three panelists, you are welcome to add questions in the Q&A, and I will come to them after this first one, or as this first one is getting answered. So if I can address first a question to all three panelists, and you're all welcome to answer it as you choose. So to keep it quite topical and to sort of go quite general first before we dig into some of maybe the individual issues, on the 26th of September, Reuters reported that there will be an imminent trilateral meeting between China, Japan and South Korea, perhaps as soon as December this year. In terms of crime prevention and some of the transnational topics that we touch upon, what would you like to see at the top of the agenda? Let's go, we went from east to west, so let's go from west to east this time. Can we begin with Ling, then Ji-Sun, then Takuma?
Sorry, Martin, you mentioned the case is in, which kind of case? Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, no problem at all. So I said that there will be a trilateral meeting between China, Japan and South Korea imminently. It looks like it will be December, but it's not confirmed yet, I believe. In terms, there's going to be a lot of key issues discussed, potentially also crime prevention. So from a general point of view, what would you like to see at the top of the agenda at a meeting like that? Okay,
thank you. First, to be honest, I don't know, this event. Thanks for letting me know. I will check with my partners in the China Customs to check who will attend this meeting and which specific topic will be to be discussed in that meeting, particularly if there are any topics related to wildlife crime. So what I I'm very interested in the controlled delivery. So if we talk the information sharing or intelligence sharing or controlled delivery, because this is the very effective way to combat the crime across the region. So I know they are the very good or successful case between China and other Asian countries, but so far we haven't seen any successful case between China and Japan or Korea. And when I maybe 2 years ago, we had an intelligence from China Customs to that one traders, he sold rhino horn to China, or they transported the rhino horn to China, and the China Customs want to contact their counterpart in Japan, but because for the the government structure, China Customs they're the China Customs. It's the Ministry of China Customs. Yeah, but in Japan, customs belong to the Ministry of Finance. So, it is difficult for customs to directly contact the Japan customs. They have to contact the Ministry of Finance. So this is not effective. Yeah, so if for combating wildlife crime in the future, if China custom and Korea or Japan custom, they can have the very direct, cooperation mechanism. Yeah, this will very help to combat wildlife trafficking in the future. Yeah, so, and we also look forward to these three countries can actively share the intelligence and can conduct some controlled delivery, particularly for those like Chinese nationals in Africa or in Korea who are involved in the wildlife crime. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lee. I mean, it sounds like you've identified a really interesting area where you could get maybe some quick wins there, just the integration issue in the different departments. That's exactly the type of thing we need to identify that we can then solve. So much appreciated. Thank you. Ji-Sung, can I move on to you, please?
Yes, as far as I understand, the meeting in September was for ease the tension between all those three countries, I think. And also the major issue, one of the major issues was, as I heard, it was about the North Korea. And still we are middle of not middle of war, but we kind of seized the war and having this situation still. So that was at the time issue, as I understood. But I think for the future meeting, we could, just my idea, I think we could cover about the cybercrime issue between those three countries. And I know Japan joined the Budapest Convention in 2015 or so, and South Korea is recently tries to join this convention, and we are middle of this process. So I think in this situation, also the cybercrime is there's no national restriction. So I think it's a good point, good agenda at this moment to discuss the cybercrime issues. I mean, other human trafficking and illegal trade and all other topics are in criminal justice could be on the table, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about real situation for this future meeting. So yeah, this is my guess, and also yeah, this is just my guess and hope. Yes.
No problem at all, and thank you for that. Yeah, no, I mean, I understand. Say we've had this. We had the talk then in September, but then there was the talk of the prospective future engagement. So yeah, there's a lot open there, and I mean, I think it's it's going to be down to people beyond government who are also, want to set various agendas and are particularly in positions of expertise like you guys are. So it's always interesting for us to hear where you're at with that. I mean, you mentioned a few specific things, particularly with cyber, which are also of interest to us. So we may come back to those, but thank you, Ji-Suan. Takuma, can we move over to you, please?
So I did not know anything about this event until you brought it up. So I'm not in any position to say anything about this at all.
To be clear to you and to the audience, so there was this. This was announced. It was announced in September for. In the future, it was said at the time it could be as soon as December, and it's still quite sketchy with details. So don't let me scare you all with there's an imminent meeting you've missed. But there was talk in September, and there was talk that it may be as soon as December. Let's see if that happens in reality. But there will be scope for some discussions, and there's a potential for some of the topics we cover here.
Well, so I'm not necessarily willing to talk about something that I'm not that familiar with, but. So I don't know if this can be analogy or it can be applied to this context, but so I don't necessarily study sort of like Asian cooperation, cooperation across Asian nations to fight against organized crimes and all that things. And this is like the first time I study this kind of things. But as I was asked to talk about, a cooperation across different Asian nations to fight against organized crime, I look for things like an Asian Interpols and all that kind of things. And then there is periodic meeting once a year, and there's all the list where the meeting is held and all that kind of things. I don't find any specific agenda they talk about or they actually what they do. So in the future, I like them to be a little bit more clear about what sort of specific deeds that they do, so that we can actually evaluate, right? Having a meeting and having these kind of agenda, yeah, that's great. But I actually want to know actual implementation that results from such meeting. So we can actually evaluate, the impact of the meeting if there is any specific deeds that resulted from that meetings and all that kind of thing. So I like to be a little bit more clear. This is just generic, clear about how certain things are implemented in the kind of in detail. But I don't know if this might be just irrelevant. Sorry, I don't know anything about this. So I'm not.
No, that's not irrelevant at all. And I think that you've probably put your finger on an important issue there, just to give that some context, because you've obviously sort of in researching that and in looking at that. I mean, you mentioned in your own research there, the link, it happened to be Japan and Philippines and Yakuza. I mean, in looking at the wider issue, as you've just mentioned there, one of the other things I'm going to raise, and what I will do is I will put this back as a question to all three of you, if I may, starting with you, Takuma, just because you've raised it. One of the other things I wanted to touch upon, in its recent report on cybercrime and trafficking in Asia, the UNODC noted in its report that it felt regional cooperation in Asia on these matters is still lacking. So what I wanted to ask was, why do you think that is? Now, it's a question, obviously, you've got the technical side, maybe there's anthropological, cultural, but they noted it and they were quite surprised. You've just happened upon it yourself there, Takuma. So obviously there is something here. I mean, you can answer it as you wish, either why you think it's happening or how it can be combated. But is there a problem here with regional cooperation?
I think the regional cooperation is, obviously very important, but so Japan only had a sort of like an agreement with South Korea and the US in terms of how criminals, without sort of like, specific procedures, how criminals are deported to the countries of origin. So, Japan and Philippines did not have any agreement on that, right, prior, but they were able to work out like throughout some like, additional processes and all that kind of things. So even if in the absence of formal agreement across different nations, I think the sort of that kind of cooperation is technically possible. It may take a little bit more time, so that if you have formal agreement, then it might actually the coordination will be more enhanced. But it's kind of goes back to Ling's points on sort of like an information sharing. If you actually have a sort of like an agreement and cooperation, then information sharing will be more enhanced, which can increase sort of like monitoring capacity for criminals. So it can work in that way. As a matter of fact, among nations that in the Asian Interpol, for example, they can requests they can actually request a number request cases to look for some wanted criminals in that country. And in Japan has been like an increase in receive a lot of maybe 1,000 requests from other countries for look for criminals in Japan. And the question is does it have any kind of deterrence effects on crime rates in Japan? So that's an empirical question. So I think, once we know how how cooperation is implemented, then we can actually evaluate the consequences of that practice. So, I think more data is necessary, but more transparencies in terms of how certain things are implemented is also needs to be upfront.
That's very thoughtful. Thank you. Can I ask the same question? Can we go backwards the other way? So to Jisoo and then to Ling, please. And if you, again, I apologize for just throwing that on you, but it seems an interesting one. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I agree with Takuma mostly, and also about the data and transparency. And we need to have those cooperation. I think it's just if we know more, and we could have more opportunities to find chance to cooperate more, and not really from the big side. I'm not sure a president side or a higher level. I mean, it will take really more time to have all this one agreement or implementation plan. I think it's more each section, each side, each topics field. We need to kind of try to cooperate more with other countries like Japan and China. I think that's a starting point. And then develop more and more cooperate area, expand the area. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is answering your question, but that's my idea.
No, it does. As I say, it's useful to you. And I think, and I'm not going to ask a further question. I will, after Ling, after your answer, I will come back to one that we've had in the chat. Just to say, though, that I think one of the themes in what we do and what's coming through in speaking to you is one of the problems there is that we feel crime has become more and more transnational, and we're not sure if the response has become sufficiently transnational to the crime, if you like, if the governments and the official side has kept up with the developments in crime itself. So it's an interesting one to hear from you. Ling, may I come to you, please?
Yeah, regarding to your question on the subcrime issue, lack of the regional, attention. We have working with this area for maybe more than 10 years. So in China, this issue is it's simple compared to other countries, because all the internet companies, they are domestic company, and completely controlled by the Chinese government. So this is why our coalition work in China is efficient with the support from the Chinese government. And the Chinese government, they has established the special task force to combat wildlife cybercrime. But as I know, for other countries, you have the Facebook, Instagram, and the some other other online platform. Actually, this is not Japan or Korea or Malaysia based company. So they have the headquarters in US. So this company, in some country, they don't comply to the domestic the laws in that country. So that means this country has no any control or has difficult for them to talk to this country to request them to apply for the domestic laws. So even we find the illegal wildlife like advertisement in these platforms, we can only reach these companies, or we can reach maybe some partner the partners who had good relationships with this company to lobby them to delete or deal with this illegal trade information. But in China, if we find like illegal wildlife advertisement in Taobao or Alibaba, we can, if the company they don't give the positive the response to this illegal information, we can ask the police or the like a CITES-MA their support to push this company to take action. So I do think the challenge in other countries, how to work with the international internet company could be a big challenge. So this is why we need the global or regional cooperation to combat such crime.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean, what I'm hearing here is it's the very much we have each domestic sphere, and there is a real significant issue there. Actually, I mean that's more than we knew before, so I appreciate that. Actually, you've also both Takuma and Ling, you've just answered the question that was in here about the challenges. Ji-sun, you've already answered it by typing a response about the key challenges, which I think you've just done there. I don't want to keep you too long, and I know, so we're winding it down. I know that one, you've all been very generous with your time. Takuma, you, I know, have got teaching as well, and you've even come and done this before, so I appreciate it. Just one final thing, very briefly, that I noted down. I want to get, while I catch you, just to you, Ling, if I may. You mentioned there the Operation Mekong Dragon. Just on the theme of successes and challenges, I mean, that sounds a fascinating example of kind of what we're discussing here, and you're a practitioner, a real example. Just very briefly, what sort of successes and failures have you had, do you feel, in your opinion, have you had with that?
The success is the more serious after the regional collaboration and the political will of each party on combating crime has been largely increased. And because for each Operation Mekong Dragon, the China Customs or the UNODC, they will organize the training for all the participants from each country to help them increase their capacity. So this is the very good, I think it's a good success, from this operation. And failing, I can't say the failing, but maybe the challenges. So as I mentioned, the justice system in each country is different. So for some country, easy to work together. But I just give you an example, like in Vietnam Customs, they can detect the illegal activities, but the deep investigations will be done by the local police, not by the customs. So it is a different with the China Customs. China Customs can they investigate the whole supply chain for as any Chinese nationals they are involved in the crime. So the challenge is how China Customs they work with the Vietnam Customs if they are the very deep investigation. So because in Vietnam the counterparts of the China Customs is the Vietnam Customs. So China Customs can't contact the local police directly. So that means they have to go to the Vietnam Customs first, then to the Vietnam police. So this is not efficient. And I do another challenge. I think that for the controlled delivery. because country delivery have the very, request very high techniques between both countries or among different countries. Even, there's one very small, delayed or postponement for the communication, it can't be achieved. So currently the capacity on delivering the country delivery is still a big challenge for all the parties in this Operation Great Mekong Dragon. So I do think the training, law enforcement training, cooperation training, for particularly, for the countries with the lower capacity should be sustained, not only supported by We Traffic, but also by other international NGOs.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for your insight on that. And it makes me think, because today we have obviously different geographies coming together, it really makes me think, speaking to all three of you, that I think we would benefit from having more of the spheres talking together. For example, NGO, academia and practitioners. I mean, I think that is absolutely vital. And it just today really kind of enforces that even more in my perspective. So there we are. Now, again, thank you all for your time. I think we can wrap things up there and let you get on with your day here from the middle of the night in the UK. Let me first say again, thank you kindly to all of you, our panelists, for your time. Thank you also to the volunteers and organisers who have made it all possible. And also thank you to the audience, whether you're watching live or whether you are catching up afterwards. I hope it's been useful. And it is, of course, a topic to which we will return, of course. Do check out the OC24 schedule for further panels. I can inform you there are around 12 hours left. It's a full 24-hour event, and all of them are on there on the main page, and there's some really interesting ones to come. But from me, for now, thank you and goodbye. And thank you again to all of you.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Here. Okay, bye.